Hi, my name is Quincy Dowdy, and this is my honors project for art appreciation. It's called Monsters from Greek Mythology and Their Effect Throughout Art. Most people know the most famous monsters of Greek mythology: Medusa, just the serpent woman who turns you to stone when she looks at you, the Minotaur, which is half bull, half person, Cerberus, the three-headed dog, the Sphinx, which is like the statues from ancient Egypt. It's the body of a person or the head of a person, the body of a lion, and occasionally has eagle wings. And the chimera, which has a lion head, a goat body, and a serpent tail. There's also less popular and more common monsters of Greek mythology, which includes giants, dragons, which in Greek mythology is like an umbrella term for dragon-like monsters. Um, Demons, which is less of a physical being and more of an idea. Manticores, which are like lions with scorpion tails, and sirens, which are like evil mermaids. Context symbolism for Greek monsters, or for monsters in Greek stories. Monsters in Greek myth often represent ideas, debates, and struggles that were current in Greek life. Popular themes represented by monsters include internal conflicts and fears, the struggle between civilization and barbarianism, the consequences of transgression against natural or divine laws, the consequences of hubris, and the importance of heroism. Examples of this through the monsters in Greek mythology would be Medusa and sirens, symbolizing the fear of female power and sexuality, the Minotaur, which represents the beast within all humans and the consequence of human hubris, Cerberus, who represents the inevitability of death in the afterlife, and the Hydra and the Chimera, showing the importance of heroism as they terrorized civilizations before they were slain. Characteristics and symbolism of Greek monsters. Most Greek monsters had grotesque features, unusual forms, or something that made them striking or terrifying. Um, the representation of chaos. Most monsters often embody chaos and disorder, countering the order represented by heroes. And the symbolic meanings. Monsters usually symbolize deeper existential fears such as death, the unknown, and social anxieties. Heroes in Greek mythology. Just to briefly contrast monsters in Greek mythology, examples of heroes would be Heracles, known for the 12 labors, Perseus, known for slaying Medusa and rescuing Andromeda, Theseus, known for defeating the Minotaur. These heroes contrast monsters in Greek mythology by showing themes including courage and the fear and the face of adversity, the importance of intelligence and strategy, the necessity of humility, and the value of loyalty, friendship, and family ties. There are many, many, many historical works inspired by Greek monsters and Greek mythology in general. Many artists over time have made artwork inspired by Greek myth. This painting to the left is called Perseus Rescuing Andromeda, made by Joachim Witthal in 1611. And the painting to the right is Theseus and the Minotaur from the story of Theseus, made by Master of Campana Cassoni, circa 1510. And the smaller image towards the middle is a zoom in version of the actual scene of Theseus and the Minotaur. These three artists are artists that have very, very well known Greek mythology or Greek monster made works. To the far left is Francis Bacon, middle is Francisco de Goya, and to the far right is El Greco. Francis Bacon was an Irish-British painter born October 28, 1909 in Dublin, Ireland. He died April 28, 1992 in Madrid, Spain. He was one of the most successful painters of the 20th century, and after his death, he became regarded as one of the world's most important painters. His subjects were often portrayed as violently distorted, and he had a long-held fascination with Greek literature, which many of his pieces were inspired by. Quote from Francis Bacon: "The creative process is a little like the act of making love. It can be violent, the result is often disappointing, but the process is highly exciting." The first painting to the middle was made in 1944, called Three Studies for Figures at the Base of Crucifixion. It was inspired by an ancient Greek tragedy, and this painting launched his career. Quote from the art story: "The twisted bodies are all the more frightening for their vaguely familiar human-like forms, which appear to stretch out toward the viewer in pain and supplication. The perspective lines in the background create a shallow space, alluding to captivity and torture. The figures are based upon the Furies, goddesses of revenge from Greek mythology, that play an important role in Aristeia, a three-part tragedy by Aeschylus. Bacon may have been drawn by the play's themes of guilt and obsession." The painting to the right was made in 1983, called Oedipus and the Sphinx after Ingress. The art piece is inspired by the Greek tragedy of Oedipus, King of Thebes, and quote from Francis Bacon website. In this painting, almost a parody of romantic sublime of Ingress, Oedipus and the Sphinx resembles a sculpture rather than a mythical beast as depicted in the source material. Um, Francisco de Goya was a Spanish painter and printmaker. He was born March 30th, 1746 in Fuengirola, Spain. He died April 16th, 1828 in Bordeaux, France. He's uniquely cited as both an old master and the first truly modern artist. The art's grotesque imagery and social commentary set the stage for artists like Pablo Picasso and Salvador Dali. Pablo Picasso made more social commentary based artwork, and Salvador Dali made more fantasy type artwork. Quote from Francisco de Goya: "Fantasy, abandoned by reason, produces impossible monsters. United with it, she is the mother of the arts and the origin of marvels." His first painting in the middle, made from 1821 to 1823, is called Saturn Devouring His Son. Saturn was the Roman name given to the Titan Cronus. This piece is one of Goya's black paintings, paintings that weren't published but were made before his death. Quote from the art story: "It depicts the Greek myth of Titan Cronus, who ate his sons because he believed he would be overthrown by one of them." The painting to the right was made around the same time, called Asmodia or Fantastic Vision. It was another one of the series of black paintings. So there isn't much known about most of these paintings, while Saturn Devouring His Son is more like a given. This painting there's less knowledge of. So there's no written or oral record that explains the meaning of the series of paintings, the black paintings. And it's likely that they were never meant to be seen. He painted them on his wall inside his house, and when they were found, they were copied onto boards. The title Asmodia was given by Goya's good friend Antonio Brigada, who was also a painter. From Wikipedia, the title is likely a feminine naming of the demon king Asmodeus from the Book of Tobias. However, according to Lopez Vasquez first and Moffat later, the title relates to the myth of the Greek titan Prometheus, in which the goddess Athena carries him to the Caucasus Mountains. I feel like this lines up more with his artwork. El Greco was a Greek-Spanish painter, sculptor, and architect. He was born October 1st, 1541 in Crete, Greece, and died April 7th, 1614 in Toledo, Spain. El Greco was passionately devoted to God, with one notable artwork that went outside his faith, and his work has been cited as a precursor for Expressionism. Quote from El Greco: "I paint because the spirits whisper madly inside my head." El Greco, as previously mentioned, was very passionate about God. So this artwork, Laocoon or Laocoonte, was the one artwork that was not made in his specific Christian Catholic faith. It was made between 1610 and 1614 before he died. The serpents in this painting and in Greek myth were one of the creatures that were occasionally interchanged with or considered a form of dragon. And quote from the art story, the painting portrays the myth of Laocoon, a Trojan priest who, according to legend, warned the locals about the Trojan horse and also profaned the temple of God. As a consequence, giant serpents sent by the angry gods killed him and his two sons, Antiphates and Thymbraeus. These are some more modern artists who take or have popular art pieces relating to Greek myth and Greek monsters. The artist to the left is Yayoi Kusama, who was born in March 22nd, 1929. And the artist to the right is Alexei Golovin, born in 1977. So Yayoi Kusama is a Japanese American painter, sculptor, photographer, installation, performance, and conceptual artist. She was born March 22nd, 1929. Quote from her, my artwork is an expression of my life, particularly of my mental disease. It seems like she has some form of schizophrenia. She began seeing things at a really young age and has made art based on that sense. This piece to the left here was her first successful experimentation with performance art. It was called Narcissus Garden, and it was made in 1966. Quote from the art story, the 12-inch in diameter mirrored balls were tightly arranged, creating an infinite reflective field that distorted images of reality on the surface of the balls. As in the original Greek myth, in which Narcissus' admiration for his own reflection eventually causes him to drown, the viewer is forced to confront their own vanity when looking at their distorted reflection on the surface of the balls. Kusama also placed two signs at the installation that read Narcissus Garden, Kusama, and Your Narcissism for Sale. The painting on the right was made by Alexei Golovin. He was a Russian painter born in 1977 in St. Petersburg, Russia. This piece was called Perseus with the head of Medusa, and it was made in 2016. It was a scene from the Greek myth of Perseus's victory over Medusa. How the context has changed over time. So, for Medusa, she was again a symbol for the fear of women's empowerment and sexuality at the time. Now, she's been sort of taken as a symbol for female empowerment, female rage, the idea of revenge, and protection. The Minotaur at the time was a representation of the beast within human nature, whereas now he's taken more as a symbol of the duality of human nature. And people see him also as being born a victim beyond his control, immediately being born a monster. So it's a story of our inner demons and how they often stem from unresolved pain. And lastly, Cerberus, he represented the fear and inevitability of death at the time, but he's also been kind of changed to also be considered a symbol of protection and the maintenance of order, along with a reminder to respect those who have passed. The things that have stayed the same, obviously, an interest in stories of tragedy and drama. Most of these are stories of tragedy and drama. And the Minotaur and Cerberus are still considered to symbolize what they were first made for. It's just been kind of changed a little bit. And these are my works cited.